There's never a shortage of drama going on in Antioch. I would know, I've lived there. I just left there last week. It's my mother's home. Well, originally my mother's from Oakland, but moved to Antioch. So, am I surprised that there's a lot of chaos out there? Nah. There's certainly never a shortage of drama for Antioch. Some things never change. My mother lives in Antioch, and she's lived there now for about 26 years. Interesting, before my mother moved to Antioch, my father lived in Antioch. Guess what street? Sycamore. Same street. So I know very well the things that happen there, or used to. Used to, not in what's current day. When I was young, interestingly, one of my abuse, the worst abuse that was ever done to me, that I could remember, was when my mother's male friend had the entertainer, musician, songwriter, whatever. He had touched me. I told my mom about it. I was a child. I was a virgin. I told her, hey, Mom, your man did this to me. And he touched this and he did these things. And I don't like it. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So I'm coming to you. What, Mom, help me. But what did my mother do? My mother said I was a bitch, a whore, a slut, and that I enticed him. You see, if I hadn't, I don't know, been alive maybe, if I hadn't been a kid and he didn't happen to be there, I don't know how that makes me a slut. I don't see how me being abused, what makes me the bad guy. So while this happened, right, my mother locked me in my room. I didn't even get to go to school for a few days. She took my phone out and she told me I couldn't talk to anybody. She literally made me stay in my room for days on end while she decided what she wanted to do about her man abusing me, how she was going to deal with that. Interestingly, she wanted me the next day to go out and eat with them and talk about it. What do you want to talk about, Mom? How your perverted boyfriend touched me? What do you want the details for? You're going to stay with him anyway. Nasty. Anyway, so she sent me to live with my father. My father was no better. My father had told me since birth that I was of no importance to him. He wanted a boy and I was a female, so I had no value and I added nothing to his life. So when my mom sent me to live with him on Sycamore, I got to see a lot of stuff, unfortunately, in the neighborhood. I remember I just moved to Sycamore, so I just got done being molested by my mom's buddy. I got sent away because I'm a nasty, dirty whore because her boyfriend molested me. So she sent me to the man who wanted to kill me as a child, as she puts it. Okay. So she sent me to live with my father on Sycamore. So my mom didn't want me anymore, sent me to the man who didn't like me to live in a very unhealthy and very safe environment. Can you guess what her hope was? Probably not good for my future. So one of the things there, while I was living on Sycamore, so I definitely understand the drama of the area. That 309, oh yeah, I could see how this could be. So anyway, when I was young, there was a boy, a man. He was not a boy. I was a child. I called him a boy because I didn't know what else to call him. He was a grown man, though. But I was young, and occasionally we would chit-chat. He would hang out at the houses I would go to. I didn't know him very well, but because he literally lived in the same apartments, we would run into each other. I could remember a time where he was actually hung, and they hung upside down. I wasn't there for this. I read it later on, and then I knew some of the people back in the day. My cousins had told me about it. It's hard to talk about. I'm stalling, as you could kind of see. So there was this man, and I guess he wasn't a real good guy. He was probably into drugs or whatever. I don't know. I was young. I didn't pay attention to that. I was very naive to a lot of things that were going on. I was just trying to stay safe and have men not touch my private parts, or my mom trying to do perverted shit or allowing perverted shit to happen. Just wanted to be safe and not have people touch my body. I didn't know that that was something that was so much to ask for, but apparently it is. So living there, I got to witness people getting worse abuse than me. Like the man that I had ran into that I was talking about, he ended up being hung upside down with a hot soldering iron shoved up his ass, along with then being strangled. And I think they said they hung him outside afterwards for everyone to see, to set some type of example. Luckily, I didn't see that. Thank God I didn't see any of that. I wouldn't have been able to handle that. But I was told about it months later. You know, that where I lived, there was constantly drama around, not directly to me, but to those in my vicinity. You know, I tried to mind my own business for the most part. I still do. The drama, though. So the first time I lived in Antioch was with my father. My mother had sent me to live in Antioch with my father when I was young after her boyfriend molested me. I did a video on this talking about one of the times when I was molested by my mom's boyfriend, or not boyfriend, but a guy she had sex with that same night. And then had the nerve when I told her that her dude had touched me and what had happened. Instead of being a mother and handling it, what did she do? Locked me in my room, took away my phone, didn't allow me to go to school, said it was my fault, said I was a whore, I'm a slut, I'm nothing, I should have never been born. She despised my life and she wished she would have aborted me. So what did she do? After I was abused, she sent me to my father, who, as she let me know, hated me as well. She used to tell me she despised him and she despised me because I was just like him. So she sent me to him. He lived on Sycamore. Now my dad, he was always very distant to me, to say the least, because I was a female. See, my father didn't want females. He told me I was of no use to him because he wanted a boy and that I could bring nothing to him. Okay. My dad also used to be very abusive. I'll just leave it at that for now. Both my parents were very abusive to me, as were everyone else that they allowed to, for shits and giggles, abuse me. Okay. So Antioch I know well. You know, it's sad to see the state of the world just going further and further down. You know, Antioch used to be a nice place. What happened? Life. The last time I lived in Antioch was a couple years back. After Hurricane Irma happened and we left everything in the middle of the night and drove with 2 suitcases all the way from Florida to Arizona and then California with nothing but a few suitcases. We had to leave everything. Okay, so we were lucky enough to stay with somebody, a man named Dave. Thank you for taking us in. I could say the story behind that, but I will not. I will simply say it was someone my mother knew and I knew, and he was a neighbor of ours. We'll come back maybe another time on that subject. But he was kind enough to take us in when we lost everything. See, when the hurricane happened, I tried asking my mom for help. So, Mom, we just had a hurricane. Everything's gone. Can you help us? My mother said no. Figure it out. But my mother then again has always wished death upon me. So why? Was I expecting help? See, insanity. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I insanely have believed my whole life that my mother must love me somewhere, somehow, some way. I'm still waiting to be shown it. I can't give up hope. I just cannot give up hope that my parents actually despise me as much as they say, simply because I exist. Not because of what I've done, but simply because they had sex and I ended up here. So I get tortured for that often. Luckily for me, my time living on Sycamore wasn't that bad. If you don't start nothing, there won't be nothing, and that's truth. If you mind your own business, people generally leave you alone. Even people that are doing shit that they shouldn't be, they ain't trying to fuck with you. They got their own life going on. Stay out of shit, and there won't be nothing. So I learned young to just kind of, don't hang with those people. Stay by myself. Don't be rude to people, but keep a distance because I knew I wasn't like them. I may have been in the environment because I had no choice, but I'm not my environment and I never have been. I was living in places where there was murders, death, rape, drug deals, everything you could think of. But I was so used to that from my family because my family were mostly criminals themselves. So this wasn't nothing new to me. The insane part for me was thinking that my mother and my father would eventually come around. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I don't know if it was a Stockholm syndrome thing or what, but my parents are both narcissists, big time abusers when it comes to the narcissism and the psychological manipulation. And my mother liked to hit too and use her fists and lift me up by my hair as a child and do other stuff. Plus stick her tongue down my throat. I am not my experiences. I am not the abuse that happened to me. I am not responsible for the evil that happened around me or the things that happened to me because of the environment that I was placed in. I kept my distance. And God has been good and protected me through it all. I could tell you guys some stories that you just really wouldn't believe. The man with the soldering iron up his ass and then hung because of a bad deal he had done. And I was a young child, and I remember finding out about this. And this was a gentleman who lived by me next door, so I'd see him frequently. I didn't know him close, but I'd see him. So danger was always lurking around. But luckily, God seemed fit to protect me. And luckily, I mind my own business. So I didn't have situations occur to me that would continue these cycles. I try not to judge people. I try to mind my own business and not make assumptions because I haven't walked in other people's shoes. At the same time, I have to use discernment because of the environment I'm around and the people around me. I myself don't have to be cunning because I am not a cunning person, but I need to be aware of the cunning schemes that these people will try to pull if you are naive enough to fall for it. See, if you learn the schemes of the devil, you could be aware of them so that you don't get caught up in it. Don't get your foot caught in this snare because they're definitely out there. It seems I always move to those places where they say, oh shit, don't ever go there. Don't even think about going there because something may happen just with the thought. I've lived in all those places. Example, Cat Williams did a skit on Florida, and he said about Jacksonville. And then he went more specific and said, Moncrief. Don't ever go there, and he was making jokes. That's exactly where I moved. I moved directly into the hood. That is the place that he said, do not go. So what do? Oh, that's exactly where I go. I'll share those stories too. It's been an amazing journey. I've gotten off track from this article. This article has led me kind of mentally all over the place simply because it's on the same street as where a lot of the things happened to me occurred. Now I'm finding that this area is a common spot for crimes. And me, I just try to pray over those areas because it's obvious that there's some demon problems at that four corners in that area. So what I do, I don't continue abuse. I don't go in those areas judging people. I do not go looking for trouble. But what I do is when I see someone, if I could help them, I'll try to lend a hand. Throw some prayers out there. Unbind some of those old curses and grounds. Because did you ever notice a lot of places that you go to have high activity of events happen? Like high areas of car accidents, high areas of whatever type of death. Did you ever think it's by design? See, it's by design because dumb demons believe they have dominion. They believe they have dominion and powers in certain areas because people open gateways. I'd like to close some of those gateways. See, I'd like to reverse some of that old negative programming. So, me being the reverse, what I do is try to put positivity in those places without you see all this really terrible death and destruction. Where you see the most chaos, I like to go there. Why? Because I want to help bring some peace. See, God came, right, to set the captives free, including the mind captives. God came to help people. He came to help the lost, the thieves, the criminals, the prostitutes. Who do you think he came to save? The people who needed direction. Now, I'm certainly not God, and I make a lot of mistakes too, especially with my mouth and giving my opinion, and I'm working on that. But instead of judging people, let's try to be helpful. It's easy for us to say what we think happened, but we don't really know. See, this war, it really is a spiritual battle. These demons jump. They believe they have land principalities and rights, not just on people, but on actual land in the soil. See, so people got to get in there and break those curses and unbind things and unbind themselves from these things and help others to wake up and be free. Because, yeah, I could sit here and report on the news about what's happening, or I could gossip about what's happening, and we could all be entertained. But how does that help our soul growth? And how does that help the other person? What we do now is, as I'm always talking about, it's going to affect our future, as we know. So why not do something positive? You want positive results? Put out positive results. Put out positive actions to get back positive results. Doesn't matter the environment you're in, you could still do it and succeed. I succeeded a lot of satanic ritual abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse. I grew up in areas where people's heads were hacked off with machetes. I've lived through some shit, but I still have my soul because nobody can take that. Nobody can take that. Nobody can take your inner peace. Only you have the power to stop that. Only you live inside of your body. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution.